Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today's call is going to be truncated. It's going to be a little different. On occasion, I'm invited to participate in conference calls from individuals with whom I've relied for a number of years on information regarding the situation in Iraq. They seem to have their calls coinciding with noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific. I assume they do that. It's a little later in the day for them, but I assume they do that so that we can participate in the call. Those of us that they're in contact with, they spend, I guess, the first 10 or 15 minutes of that call with introductions and talking about the substance of the call. So I don't have to get into the call right away. It's probably starting in the next minute or so. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about the situation in Iraq right now. And for those calling in for the first time, I'm going to strongly suggest that you listen to our call from June 24th. And you'll get all of the information about Trusts Unlimited, the program we've put in place to assist you, and so forth. So let's go ahead and get into a little bit of what's going on in Iraq. First, as usual, by disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is relevant. Of course, the most relevant piece of information would be the window for the potential reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar, which we continue to believe is the base currency for the potential reset of these other currencies, and the reinstitution is the catalyst for that currency coming out of a program rate. The window the last couple of weeks or 2 weeks ago was 30 to 45 days. So extrapolating from that, we'd be somewhere between 20 and 30 days. However, because of the information I'm going to share with you now, we're going to stay at that 30 to 45-day window. There are some things going on in Iraq which are unfortunately postponing, at least in my opinion, the reinstitution of the dinar. It certainly isn't surprising for those of us that have been involved in this for any length of time. But, of course, the precipitous fall in the price of a barrel of oil has had the understandable effect in Iraq of creating a serious liquidity and deficit problem. Now, today is the day that they were supposed to have a vote on the 2020 budget, and the new tariff law was to go into effect. I don't know as we speak if either of those things have occurred, although I hope to get clarification on the call that I'm going to patch into in a few minutes. We also know that Maliki and his band of pro-Iranian thugs have now issued a statement pushing for the dismissal of the Prime Minister-designate al-Kazemi, so that was not unexpected. We also know that the CBI, while it has managed to fund salaries for June, they've done so by expending their dwindling amount of reserves. The discussion that the Kurds had with Baghdad did not go as well as hoped, and there is still a log jam with regard to the autonomy of the Kurdistani region. And, of course, we have the continued problem of corruption. Very simply, the sale of dinar in order to acquire USD is necessary because they need the US dollar as a reserve currency. And unfortunately, this process has been corrupted by officials in Iraq and some Iranians who are pilfering as much as $50 billion a year from Iraq, and that is going to continue until they basically go to sound money and reinstitute their currency. However, there is some good news. The Iraqi security forces have finally dropped the hammer, and they're shutting down the Iraqi Hezbollah that are being funded by Iran. They just recently found a very large cache of missiles, missile launchers, and other explosive devices. So that's very important to stop a lot of the violence on the street and protesters being accosted by these individuals. The Al-Kazemi government has issued, as I've mentioned in the last couple of weeks, white papers. And aside from the reforms that they have outlined, they have also produced a pro forma to show that they can produce as much as $20 billion a year in revenues of non-oil or petroleum sale revenues having to do with mining, tourism, tariffs, and agriculture. The finance minister and the leading economists have also released a statement basically demanding that they have an international currency or the tariff law basically will not function. And, of course, in order for that to occur, they first must reinstitute their currency in country. And in the statement they released is this one sentence, quote, "Challenging the exchange rate is necessary to achieve justice, to eradicate corruption, for the collection of taxes and custom duties, which will finally turn the tables on the rulers." And they didn't use the word government, they used the word rulers. So to be governed is different than being ruled. So the government at present and the leading economists in the country have basically said the only way out of the current predicament is an international currency, and that cannot happen until they reinstitute their currency, i.e. raise the value. It makes no sense for the reinstitution to come at a rate substantially less than the U.S. dollar. The reinstitution rate must be at or near, if not at a slight premium over the U.S. dollar, in order for the Iraqi citizens to utilize their own currency rather than the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. And that has to happen before the IMF is going to reinstitute their currency. So that's where we stand right now. We're looking at 30 to 45 days. Again, I hope to get some clarification on the call I'm about to patch into. And again, for our newer callers, please go to our June 24th call to learn a lot more about Trust Unlimited and the program we've put in place to assist you both pre- and post-RV. I apologize for having to truncate these calls on occasion, but for some reason they like to do their calls on Wednesdays, and they have to do them at a time that is, accessible to the United States, which unfortunately is noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific, the precise time of our calls. So have a great week, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this call, and I will look forward to sharing with you whatever information I glean from this call as I patch into it right now. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.